The Boeing P-8 Poseidon is a military aircraft developed for the United States Navy. The aircraft has been developed by Boeing Defense, Space and Security, modified from the 737-800ERX. The P-8 conducts anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, and shipping interdiction, along with an electronic signals intelligence role. This involves carrying torpedoes, depth charges, SLAM-ER missiles, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, and other weapons. It is able to drop and monitor sonobuoys. It is designed to operate in conjunction with the Northrop Grumman MQ-4C Triton Broad Area Maritime Surveillance Unmanned Aerial Vehicle. The aircraft has also been ordered by the Indian Navy as the P-8I Neptune, with the Royal Australian Air Force expected to place an order. Development, origins, the Lockheed P-3 Orion, a turboprop ASUW aircraft, has been in service with the United States Navy since 1962. In the 1980s, the Navy began studies for a P-3 replacement, the range and endurance of which was being reduced due to increasing weight and airframe fatigue life limitations. The Navy's specification required a new aircraft to have reduced operating and support costs. In 1989, the Navy awarded Lockheed a fixed-price contract to develop the P-7, but the project was cancelled the following year. A second competition for a replacement aircraft began in 2000. Lockheed Martin submitted the Orion 21, an updated new-build version of the P-3. Boeing's proposal was based on its 737-800 airliner. BAE Systems offered a new-build version of the Nimrod MRA-4, a British jet-powered maritime patrol aircraft. However, BAE withdrew from the competition in October 2002, recognizing that without a US-based production partner the bid was politically unrealistic. On May 14, 2004, Boeing was selected winner of the competition. In June 2004, the Navy awarded a development contract to Boeing. The project was planned to be for at least 108 airframes for the USN. More orders are possible from the other nations operating over 200 P-3s. Project value is expected to be worth at least $15 billion. Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Spirit AeroSystems, GE Aviation Systems, Marshall Aerospace, CFMI, BAE Systems, and Marauder are major subcontractors. In July 2004, the USN placed an order for 5 MMA aircraft, and the first flight test aircraft was to be completed in 2009. On March 30, 2005, the P-8A designation was bestowed upon the aircraft. Design phase and testing. The P-8 is to replace the P-3s. At first, it will be equipped with legacy P-3 systems, later upgrades will incorporate more advanced technology. The Government Accountability Office credited the incremental approach with keeping the project on schedule and on budget. In 2008, the Naval Air Systems Command deleted the requirement for the P-8A to be equipped with magnetic anomaly detection equipment as part of an effort that reduced weight by 3,500 lb to improve endurance and range. A hydrocarbon sensor detects fuel vapors from diesel-powered submarines and ships. The P-8's first flight was on April 25, 2009. The second and third P-8 seconds had flown and were in flight testing in early August 2010. On August 11, 2010, the U.S. approved the P-8 for low-rate production. A P-8 released sonobuoys for the first time on October 15, 2010. Dropping 6 sonobuoys in 3 separate low-altitude passes. In 2011, it was found that the P-8's ice detection system was defective due to the use of counterfeit components. Allegedly these computer parts were poorly refurbished and sold to subcontractor BAE Systems as new by a Chinese supplier. The first production P-8A was handed over to the Navy on March 4, 2012. It flew to Naval Air Station Jacksonville, Florida, for training with the Fleet Replacement Squadron, Patrol Squadron 30. On September 24, 2012, Boeing announced a $1.9 billion order for 11 aircraft. On June 10, 2013, a DoD Inspector General report noted that the Navy should delay full-rate production over a lack of key information to assess if the P-8 meets operational requirements. Additional testing was also needed to guarantee a 25-year lifespan. Boeing executives dismissed the report, saying that the test program is on track. In 2013, full-rate production was delayed until the P-8 could demonstrate it can survive its 25-year lifespan without structural fatigue, overcome mission-limited deficiencies, track surface ships, and perform primary missions. On June 24, 2013, a P-8 successfully scored a direct hit with a live AGM-84D Block IC Harpoon anti-ship missile during weapons integration testing. On July 1, 2013, an initial operational test and evaluation report found that the P-8A was operationally effective, operationally suitable, and ready for fleet introduction. 6 test and 9 low-rate initial production aircraft had been delivered at that point. On July 31, 2013, Boeing received a $2.04 billion contract to build 13 P-8s in the 4th low-rate initial production lot, for a fleet of 37 aircraft by the end of 2016, and long-lead parts for 16 P-8s of the first full-rate production lot. As of September 2013, it is intended to replace all Navy P-3s with 117 P-8s by 2019, but budget cuts may delay this by 2 years. On January 3, 2014, the Naval Air Systems Command proceeded with full-rate production of the P-8A. Increment 1 systems include persistent anti-submarine warfare capabilities and an integrated sensor suite. In 2016, Increment 2 upgrades will add multi-static active coherent acoustics, an automated identification system, and high-altitude anti-submarine weapons. Increment 3 in 2020 shall enable net-enabled anti-surface warfare. Halving of USN orders from 16 aircraft per year down to 8 in 2015 due to expiration of the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2013 are expected to be partially offset by commercial 737 sales and export sales of the P-8. Derivatives. In 2010, Boeing proposed to replace the United States Air Force's Northrop Grumman E-8 Joint Stars fleet with a modified P-8 at the same cost Northrop Grumman proposed for re-engining and upgrading the E-8s. The proposed P-8 airborne ground surveillance would integrate an active electronically scan array radar, and have ground-moving target indicator and synthetic aperture radar capabilities. The main distinguishing feature of the P-8 AGS is a pod-mounted radar on the lower center line of the fuselage. The pod is lowered so the engine nacelles do not interrupt the radar's line of sight. 2 aft ventral fins increase aircraft stability. The P-8 AGS reuses the P-8A's Raytheon ANAPY-10 multi-mission surface search radar. In 2010, the Air Force launched an analysis of alternatives of the JSTARS platform. At a Senate Armed Services Committee meeting on March 20, 2012, the Air Force representative announced it did not have the resources to buy a new business jet-based intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance platform. Boeing has proposed repackaging P-8 systems in the smaller and less expensive Bombardier Challenger 600 series business jet, named the Boeing Maritime Surveillance Aircraft. Design. The P-8 is a militarized version of the Boeing 737-800 with 737-900 based wings. The fuselage is similar to but longer than the 737-700 based C-40 Clipper transport aircraft in service with the USN. The P-8 has a strengthened fuselage and Boeing 767-400ER style raked wingtips, instead of the blended winglets available on 737NG variants. The 5 operator stations are mounted in a sideways row, along the port side of the cabin. None of these crew stations have windows. 1 observer window is located on each side of the forward cabin. The P-8 features the Raytheon APY-10 multi-mission surface search radar. The P-8I will feature an international version of the APY-10. A short bomb bay for torpedoes and other stores opens behind the wing. The aircraft also includes 6 additional body fuel tanks for extended range from Marshall Aerospace. 3 of the tanks are located in the forward cargo compartment and 3 in the rear. In-flight refueling is via a receptacle on top of the forward fuselage, just aft of the cockpit. This receptacle will receive a flying boom that is typically used to refuel United States Air Force aircraft, as opposed to the hose and rogue system used by other USN aircraft. In order to power the additional electronics, the P-8 has a 180 kVA electric generator on each engine instead of the 90 kVA generator found on civilian 737s. This required a redesign of the nacelles and their mountings to the wings. In U.S. service, the Poseidon will be complemented by around 40 Northrop Grumman MQ-4C Triton unmanned aerial vehicles for the broad area maritime surveillance system to provide continuous surveillance. Because of the cancellation of Lockheed Martin's Aerial Common Sensor project, Boeing will propose a signals intelligence variant of the P-8 to service the requirement for the USN. Operational history, United States. In February 2012, the P-8 made its mission debut during Bold Alligator 2012, an annual littoral warfare exercise. In April 2012, the aircraft took part in Exercise Joint Warrior, flying out of RAF Lossiemouth. During RIMPAC 2012 in the Hawaiian area, two P-8s participated in 24 exercise scenarios as part of Air Test and Evaluation Squadron 1 while forward deployed to Marine Corps Base Hawaii. U.S. Navy P-8s may rotate through bases of American allies such as the Philippines or Thailand to help those nations with maritime domain awareness. On November 29, 2013, the P-8's inaugural deployment began when 6 aircraft and 12 air crews of Squadron VP-16 departed its home station of NAS Jacksonville, Florida, for Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan and forward deployment with the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The deployment was pre-planned as an enhancement of ISAT and anti-submarine capabilities for the Pacific Rebalance, but occurred shortly after the Chinese announcement of the East China Sea Air Defense Identification Zone, which heightened tensions in the region. During exercises in 2012 to 2013 and an overseas deployment to Japan, the aircraft reportedly exhibited radar, sensor integration, and data transfer problems, leading to additional testing. In January 2014, the Pentagon's Director of Operational Test and Evaluation Office called the P-8A ineffective for large-area ISAT and anti-submarine warfare missions, and said that the initial aircraft were not ready for deployment. The same report found that the P-8 was effective at the small area search mission, and with much better range, speed, and reliability than older aircraft. Pentagon Acquisition Undersecretary Frank Kendall disputed the report, saying that although its findings are factual, it did not acknowledge future capability upgrades for anti-submarine and wider area surveillance. A second squadron, VP-5, completed its transition to the P-8 in August 2013 with its next overseas deployment slated for mid-2014. A third squadron, VP-45, began its transition to the Poseidon in July 2013. During mid-2014, a pair of P-8s were dispatched to Perth, Australia for 2 months as part of an international search for the missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Australia. The Australian Minister for Defence announced on July 20, 2007 that the P-8A MMA had been selected as the preferred aircraft to replace the Royal Australian Air Force fleet of Lockheed April 3C Orions in conjunction with a yet-to-be-selected unmanned aerial vehicle. The last RAAF April 3C is scheduled to be retired in 2018, after nearly 30 years of service. In March 2009, Australia's Chief of Air Force stated that subject to anticipated government approval, the RAAF would begin to add the P-8 to its fleet in 2016. In October 2012, Australia formalised its participation in the programme with a commitment of $73.9 million Australian dollars in an agreement with the USN. Australia plans to order 8 P-8 aircraft to replace the RAAF's April 3C aircraft by 2017 (18), and reach operational capability by 2019. Air Marshal Jeff Brown, head of the Royal Australian Air Force, has said Australia is considering purchasing more P-8s, and purchasing fewer MQ-4C Triton unmanned aircraft than originally planned. On February 21, 2014, the Australian Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, announced Australia's intention to purchase 8 P-8s plus options for 4 more, with development work to be carried out in South Australia. Aircraft deliveries are planned to occur from 2017 to 2021. In July 2014, negotiations commenced between Boeing and the Department of Defense for integration of the AGM-84 Harpoon Block 1G anti-ship missile onto the P-8A on behalf of Australia. Integration of the missile onto the airframe is largely a matter of interfacing with the aircraft's combat systems software. The Block 1G is an upgraded version of the AGM-84D Block 1C variant, giving the missile an enhanced seeker and the capability to re-attack a target. India. In January 2008, Boeing proposed the P-8I, a customized export variant of the P-8A, for the Indian Navy. The P-8I variant features two major components that aren't fitted on the P-8A, a Telephonics APS-143 Ocean Eye aft radar and a magnetic anomaly detector. On January 4, 2009, India's Ministry of Defence signed an agreement with Boeing for the supply of 8 P-8Is at a total cost of $2.1 billion. These aircraft would replace Indian Navy's aging Tupolev Tu-142M maritime surveillance turboprops. Each aircraft has an average cost of about $220 a million. The deal makes India the first international customer of the P-8, and also marks Boeing's first military sale to India. In October 2010, India's Defence Acquisition Council of the Ministry of Defence approved the purchase of 4 additional P-8Is. In March 2011, it was reported that India was to order 4 additional P-8s from Boeing later in the year. India plans to order another 12 P-8s at a later time. The Data Link to Communications technology was produced by Bharat Electronics Limited for the P-8I. The system is capable of exchanging tactical data between Indian Navy aircraft, ships and shore establishments. The P-8I also features an integrated Bell-developed IFF system. India has purchased AGM-84L Harpoon Block 2 missiles and Mk-54 all-up-round lightweight torpedoes for the P-8I. In July 2012, Boeing began flight testing of the P-8I. On December 19, 2012, the first P-8I was handed over to an Indian naval team at Boeing's Seattle facility. The Indian Navy inducted its first P-8I on May 15, 2013. The second and third P-8Is were received on 16 and 22 November 2013 respectively. The aircraft are based at INS Rajouri, in Tamil Nadu. In its first operational deployment by the Indian Navy, 3 aircraft conducted search operations for the missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, 2 from INS Utkarsh, and 1 later deployed to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. The 4th aircraft was delivered in May 2014. Foreign involvement and potential exports. The U.S. Department of Defense wants to follow a program template for the P-8 similar to that of the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II Joint Strike Fighter program, with international cooperation from prospective MMA users. Boeing publicly identified New Zealand as a potential customer. Italy indicated interest in purchasing MMA aircraft, with fleet support provided by Alitalia in 2004. However, in December 2008, Italy announced the purchase of 4 ATR-72 turboprop aircraft to replace its aging Atlantic Maritime Patrol aircraft, possibly as a temporary solution because Italy remained interested in the P-8. In August 2012, Air Forces Monthly reported that Boeing sees the UK as a prime market for its P-8I Poseidon following the cancellation of Nimrod MRA-4. The Norwegian newspaper Dagbladet reported in March 2014 that the Norwegian Navy is looking at the possibility to lease the aircraft directly from Boeing. The Navy currently has 6 P-3 Orions, but is having increasing difficulty keeping them operational. Variants: P-8I Poseidon, a Euro production variant for the United States Navy, P-8I Neptune, a Euro export variant for the Indian Navy. P-8AGS, a Euro and airborne ground surveillance variant proposed to the United States Air Force in 2010 as an alternate to upgrades to the Northrop Grumman E-8 Joint Stars fleet. Its design adds a pod-mounted, active electronically scan array radar on the bottom of the fuselage. Operators: India. The Indian Navy has 8 P-8I aircraft on order. Deliveries began in December 2012, with 4 delivered by May 2014. The United States Navy plans to acquire 122 aircraft. The 13th P-8 was delivered on December 4, 2013. Specifications. Data from U.S. Navy, Boeing, and others. General characteristics, crew, flight 2. Mission, 7, length, 129 feet 5 inches, wingspan, 123 feet 6 in, height, 42 feet 1 in, empty weight, 138,300 pounds, max takeoff weight, 189,200 pounds, power plant, 2A, CFM 56-7B turbofan, 27,000 pound forces each, performance, maximum speed, 490 knots, cruise speed, 440 kn, range, 1,200 mi. 4 hours on station, service ceiling, 41,000 feet, armament, 5 internal and 6 external stations for AGM-84 hours per carat slammer, AGM-84 Harpoon, Mark 54 torpedo, missiles, mines, torpedoes, bombs, and a high-altitude anti-submarine warfare weapon system, avionics, Raytheon APY-10 multi-mission surface search radar, advanced airborne sensor surface search radar and SIGINT package to be follow-on system, see also. Related development, Boeing 737 AEW and C, Boeing C-40 Clipper, aircraft of comparable role, configuration and era, Airbus A319 MPA-MMA, BAE Systems Nimrod MRA-4, Kawasaki P-1, related lists, list of active United States military aircraft, references, notes. Bibliography. External links, P-8 NAVAIR page and P-8 fact file on Navy.mil, P-8I Poseidon a Euro-Australian International Air Show 2009.